Hello, Mr. X here. Welcome to my first MGTOW video. I wanted to talk about a topic that might affect many single men, and that is the Bachelor Tax. In this video, I'll discuss a way of defeating the Bachelor Tax. Before we continue, I'll let this famous woman explain what the Bachelor Tax is.
I propose the Bachelor Act. I hope this motion is carried. The Bachelor Tax will convince each guy that it's cheaper to be married.
We accept it. We reject it.
The idea behind the Bachelor Tax is to create a confiscatory tax that will basically force you into marriage. Think of it as the government putting your head in a vice grip and a blowtorch up your rear in order you get the hint, get married, and make some babies. Ask yourself this question. At what tax rate will you call it quits? At what point do you throw in the towel and say, to hell with it, I'll try my luck with marriage? 70%? 80%? 90%? What is your breaking point? You're probably thinking that in the U.S., the Bachelor Tax will never happen because the federal government can't force you to do something against your will in the land of the free. Not anymore. Thanks to the Supreme Court, the government has the right to tax you into a behavior the government deems appropriate. Proponents for Obamacare argued that the government must force people to buy health insurance because if you don't, you will be a burden to the rest of society. There are some people who have no health insurance. They go to the hospital, they get treated, and don't pay their bills. The rest of society has to pay for these freeloaders. So in order to get people to do the right thing, they passed Obamacare. And Obamacare requires you that you buy health insurance or pay stiff penalties. They use the tax code to force you to do what is right. I want to make a strong statement at this moment. Before Obamacare, Americans told the politicians what to do. After Obamacare, the politicians tells the American people what to do. Before Obamacare, the government told you what not to do. After Obamacare, the government tells you what to do. The Supreme Court has given the feds a power that they did not have in the past, and that is to use taxes to force people to do what the feds consider socially responsible. Everything I ever heard about the need for a bachelor tax is to force men to be socially responsible. The argument goes that you deprive the nation of future taxpayers, that there will be too many retirees supported by too few workers, blah, blah, blah. Whatever excuse they use, it comes down to that single men are not doing their part. So in order to force people to do what's right, society might pass a bachelor tax. And that means the feds will tell you what to do. Can it happen here? Of course it can. History shows that the way legislation gets passed in the U.S. is when a law is bipartisan. When one political party is for something, and they can get members from the other political party to cross party lines, the law gets passed. You know full well that the Democratic Party loves taxes. The Democratic Party can sell the idea of a bachelor tax to social conservatives. Social conservatives worship at the altar of marriage. They think marriage can cure anything. It's a cure-all. It solves all our problems. And I can see social conservatives crossing party lines in order to pass a law that quote-unquote strengthens marriage. What can we do? I recommend that men back a single tax policy. I'm only aware of two single tax ideas. I'll discuss the less popular one first to get it out of the way. First, there is the national real estate tax. The way the national real estate tax works is getting rid of all taxes and have the federal government live off a single national real estate tax. Now, this is not the tax that is implemented locally. Local real estate taxes tax you more with each improvement you make on your property. The national real estate tax is a flat tax on land. Basically, the government will say something like, I need $1,000 for this piece of land. What you build on it is your business. Advocates of the national real estate tax believe that it will create economic growth because you will have every incentive to build the most profitable piece of real estate you can on your property. If you build a mall on your land, the federal tax bill will be low. If you have an empty plot of land, that tax bill will be steep because you will have no income and you will owe the federal government money. So you will have every reason to build something that generates income to reduce your tax bill. The national real estate tax is not popular. It's mainly discussed in intellectual circles. Now I'm going to discuss something that is popular. The fair tax is a national sales tax. This tax movement has legs. There are many senators and congressmen who support it. The goal of a fair tax is to get rid of all taxes and have one and only one tax, a single national sales tax, better known as the fair tax. So let's pretend for a moment that the fair tax is the law of the land today. What would happen? Nothing would happen because the federal government will be restricted to a single tax. There will be a constitutional amendment written in plain English so even the most brain-dead Supreme Court justice can understand it. The amendment limits the federal government to a single tax. The fair tax ends any discussion of a bachelor tax. End of story. Why it matters to MGTOW? Well, here's a reason. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it with a gut answer. Do not overthink it. Ready for the question? Who do you think shops more, men or women? I'll bet you a week's salary that 90% of you said that women shop more than men. And you know what? You're right. Women shop more than men. They live in the mall. Now, who do you think benefits more from the welfare state, men or women? Women, my MGTOWs. I'll give you some examples. More research dollars are spent on cures for female diseases than men diseases. In terms of education, women get more money. More and more men are not going to college. They go to work and slave away at a blue-collar job and pay taxes in order to send women to college. Social Security. Women get more benefits than men. They live longer, so they collect more. Lots of times, they take off from work to raise a kid. So they go for years without paying Social Security taxes. Not men. You know that you will work for the rest of your life because you are a man. But the granddaddy of them all is welfare. If a woman gets pregnant and she has a kid that she can't afford, she will get welfare for the next 18 years until that child is an adult. A single mother will get all sorts of handouts. And guess what? You, as a man, will not get any welfare. Sure, you hear some stories of some men on welfare, but that's the exception, not the rule. This is why when I walk the streets of New York, I'm stepping over homeless people, and they're all guys. I can't remember the last time I saw a homeless woman. I'll tell you a personal story. I have a friend of mine. He has an IQ high enough to stay out of mental institutions, but not high enough to support himself. He's in some kind of weird IQ pocket. Anyone who spends any time with him will quickly realize that something's wrong with him. And I'm sure that many employees realize that too. It's the reason my buddy could not get a job. So he went to the welfare office and asked for welfare. They told him to man up and get a job. Now I want to remind you what I said, that if you spend any time with him, you will quickly realize that something's wrong with him. But that didn't matter. He's a man, and he's not going to get any welfare. Many believe that the welfare state is rich versus poor. No. It is men versus women. Men work, women benefit. Because currently we tax production, not consumption. The more profits you make, the more work you do, the more taxes you pay. And you know men will work their whole life. You get taxed your whole life. Women, not so much. A lot of them will take time off to raise a kid. And some quit the workforce altogether. So the system taxes men to pay women. Remember when I asked you my question, who shops more? Women do. So if we pass the fair tax, women will pay the bulk of the welfare state. They vote for the welfare state. They benefit from the welfare state, so they should pay for the welfare state. Fair is fair. The person who benefits from something should pay for it. Agreed? And what better way to make women pay for their welfare state than to tax the very thing that they do a lot of, which is shopping. Let's face it, women shop more than they have sex. And that's because every time a woman buys a pair of shoes, she has an orgasm. I'd like to leave you with this thought. A woman will not be denied the experience of giving birth. She will have a baby with you or without you. And if she becomes a single mother, that means welfare. You say you don't want to get married because an ex-wife will take half your stuff in a divorce settlement? Well, guess what? Women are going to get half your stuff anyway. As more and more women become single mothers, they will turn to the government for a bailout. The government will play the role of provider. The feds will provide women with what they need to raise a child. And they have to get that money from someplace. That means you, single man, who has plenty of money to raise a family but refuses to do so. Bachelor tax or not, you will be taxed. The government will come after single men because they will have plenty of money. The beauty of the fair tax is that it taxes purchases. So the welfare state will be mainly financed by women. They do most of the shopping. Men, we hardly buy anything at all. So we will be cutting ourselves out of the welfare state loop. You get to keep your money. And to that I say, fine by me. Women are getting all the degrees, they're getting all the benefits, might as well let them pay for it. It's their welfare state. So what's the point of this video? Like I said at the beginning, I wanted to share with you a way of beating the bachelor tax. Like I said before, if we pass the fair tax, then the government will be restricted to a single tax, which will end all discussion of a bachelor tax. If you like my video, let me know. I'd like to hear what you think, and so leave a message in the comment section.